And then the idea of, you know, God making the greater light and the lesser light, yes, they're for day during the time. And as we've already touched on, the idea of Erev and Boker, night being Erev, which would be ruled by the moon. All right, and the moon has phases, and so we have a lot of lunar deities and things through the night, and the idea of night means that it's dark. Things that go bump in the night. People tend to associate, you know, night and darkness with evil. Today we have very, very highly popular series of Harry Potter, Twilight, and stuff like that. These are all, as you'll notice, they're, you know, they all are children of the night, and so Jesus and the apostles describe are, you know, the Christians are, you know, God's people are children of the day. We are children of the light. All right. Children of the night are the ones who are drunkenness and carousing and carrying on, and they really don't have anything to do with the God of the Bible. All right, the God of the Bible is too restrictive. They want to just do things their own way, and that's because they lack discernment. So the idea is of the night. It's while they have some light, it's dark. All right. Remember, we talked about Jesus said that if the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that light? So if these people are worshiping something that has an attachment to, you know, whether it's New Age, Wicca, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, they all have a connection with the moon, which represents, you know, the night and children of the night. And we commend, you know, you to look at our recent teaching on the crescent. All right. But anyway, moving along, you know how he made the stars and everything, and he set them in the heavens. And there's a wonderful teaching by Lou Giglio called we call it laminin, but you should Google that, where he does this awesome presentation on the star-breathing God, where he shows the awesomeness of the created heavens and just the size of you know, the universe that we live in. And yet, for all that, man being so small, and like the psalmist said, what is man that you are mindful of him? You know, speaking to God. But he loves us because we are the crown of his creative process. We were made in the image and the likeness of God, and we'll be getting to that soon. All right? And so that's talking about ruling over the day and over the night. And one final note that the children of the day and the children of the night, that there's coming a time of Jacob's trouble, a great tribulation period, and Jesus told the believers, he says, you are the light of the world. And the day of the Lord is the day when God comes to judge the earth. And the prophet Joel says that it is, you know, and Zephaniah speak of the day of the Lord being darkness and with no light in it. And that is a reference to, you know, God calling home his church, taking his bride to be with him. And there's even some references, behold, the bridegroom cometh at midnight, which would be at night. So he's going to take home his bride. But anyway, that's another study. Verse 20 says, then God said, let the waters abound with the abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament. Okay, so that's our sky, right? And of the heavens. There's another mention there of the plurality of the heavens. And then it says, so God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves with which the waters abounded according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. Now notice how, like when he did the trees and the plants, that they were their seeds and how they were according to their kind. And here it says, you know, that the living things and the sea creatures and the birds were according to their kinds. So each one was according to their kind. We would say species. All right. Now we have variation within species, but you won't find different species interacting or evolution purports. The myth of evolution is that creatures would go from one thing. All right, everything started from one thing, and then this diversity that we see in the environment and the so-called evolutionary tree, where all these different things came from that, it's completely fabricated. That it's you know, even the idea of a hominid and you know, transitional beings and like, you know, man and other things having transitional forms. Man has found billions of fossils buried in you know, the ground and in the earth, and we're able to see these things. And even Darwin himself said that you know, he said that the lack of transitional forms was an affront to his theory, and he was honest enough to call it a theory. And I have a couple of quotes from Huxley, who was one of his promoters, very, very heavily promoted. And you need to know that from Darwin's quotes from himself and Huxley's, which we'll throw up here on the screen, is it's very insightful into why this is so heavily promoted today, because it's designed to usurp the authority of God's word. Because remember, we said in verses 1 through 29 here in Genesis chapter 1, the book of origins, 10 times God said, God said.